Ladies and gentlemen, parents, relatives, friends, and graduates, good morning, and welcome to the 16th graduation ceremony of the Croft Institute for International Studies. My name is Kees Gispen, and I have had the great honor and privilege of serving as the Executive Director of the Institute since 2007. We will try to keep this event as short as possible, but there's a lot of stuff to do, so I want to get started immediately. First, a few housekeeping matters. As you may have noticed, the building is in the final phases of a major renovation of the exterior, which means the exit and hall behind me are not yet accessible, so we ask you to use the hallway directly behind you, through which I came in. There is a men's restroom on the second floor and a women's restroom in the passage also directly behind you. Please put your cell phones on silent for the duration of this event. The program will take about an hour. Immediately following is a reception and luncheon on the veranda directly outside this room to my right and your left, to which everyone here is invited. There's a video monitor on the porch for overflow purposes. And next, I would like to thank all the people who have made possible today's joyous and important occasion. I would like to begin by thanking the trustees of the Croft Institute. It was the trustees of the Joseph C. Bancroft Charitable and Educational Fund who in 1997 agreed to fund the university's proposal for an international studies program and who have kept it going as we approach our 20th year of existence. Since 1998, when the Croft Institute first opened its doors, the Bancroft Fund has contributed some $44 million to pay for the Institute's operations, the initial renovation and maintenance of this beautiful pre-Civil War building, the salaries of the staff and administrators, the Croft scholarships, and many of the dedicated Croft professors who teach the students in the Institute and whom you see here today to my left, to your right. In that same time period, our count of Croft graduates, including today's class, has reached a number of 436. We have the great fortune to have all four members of the Board of Trustees present here today, and it is my privilege to introduce them to you at this time. Board members, as I call your name, would you please stand and remain standing, and would the audience please hold their applause until I have introduced all of them. Mr. Gerald M. Abdallah, the guiding spirit behind the Institute since its founding. Mr. Gerald M. Abdallah Jr., Mr. Tom A. Abdallah, Chairman of the Board, and Mr. Robert M. Bird. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in saluting for their extraordinary generosity, their commitment, and their ongoing support of the Croft Institute. Thank you. Next, I would like to thank the staff of the Institute. Associate Director, Dr. William Schenk, who is responsible for many of the Institute's operations, and without whom there is no way I could have survived in my position this morning. Along with Dr. Schenk, my thanks go to our operations manager Elizabeth Dupierrier, who should maybe outside, Network Administrator Scotty Paulson, and our Coordinator of Admissions and Academic Programs, Margaret Ross-Long. I think they're all making sure the food is not being stolen. Without the dedication of these professionals, their attention to detail, their intelligence, foresight, and energy, it would not be possible to operate the Institute. I also want to thank our student workers who serve as receptionists and building monitors who perform the many other tasks that make the program run as well as it does. Some of these students are serving as ushers for this event today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking the members of our staff and our student workers with a round of applause. I would also like to thank and recognize the Croft faculty, many of whom are seated here, seated to your right. As I call your name, professors, would you please stand and remain standing until all your names have been called, and would the audience please hold their applause until all faculty members have been recognized. Professor Ben Jones, Department of Political Science, Professor Noel Wilson, International Studies and History. Sorry, I'm walking.
Yeah. Professor Valentina Jeffery, Department of Modern Languages, Professor of Russian. Professor Henrietta Young, Professor of Chinese and International Studies. Professor David Fragoso Gonzalez, Professor of Economics. Professor Shine Choi, Department of Sociology and the Croft Institute. Here we go. Melissa Graves, Professor of Security Studies, Intelligence and Security Studies. I don't know if anybody else here will start over here. Professor Joshua Howard, Department of History and International Studies. Professor Alice Cooper, Department of Political Science. Professor Vivian Ibrahim, International Studies and History. Let's see, Professor Oliver Dinius, International Studies and History. Professor Milorad Novicevic, Business School and Management. Professor Joshua First, Department of History and International Studies. Professor Murray Miller, Sociology. And who is sitting there? Professor Nancy Wicker, Department of Art. And Professor Don Winkle, retired from the Political Science Department. Thank you very much. Finally, I also want to mention one Croft faculty member who could not be here today, Chinese professor, politics professor Gang Guo, who is, however, present in spirit through a series of pertinent comments about his students, from which I will quote somewhat later in these proceedings. As many of you already know, this is the last time that I will be leading this ceremony, since I will be retiring next month. As word spread that I would retire, many people have come up to me to congratulate me on this upcoming life change. But I must confess that I have been somewhat puzzled by those congratulations, as though I should be happy that I'm receiving some sort of promotion or a big raise. In reality, I've had very mixed feelings about leaving this job, which has been, in truth, much more than a job. Rather, it's been the defining experience of a lifetime. A calling is a somewhat old-fashioned word for it, a vocation, a passion to make the Croft Institute the best it can be and to make it a unique and truly great college experience for our students. So, in many ways, this is a time of reflection and taking stock. What has been accomplished? First and foremost, I should mention that it has been my relationship with the Croft students over the years that has been at the center of serving as an administrator and a teacher, and that has easily been the most rewarding part of it all. I hope not just for me, but also for them. And I am deeply grateful to the university and the Croft Board of Trustees for giving me the opportunity to serve in this capacity. There's nothing quite like witnessing and participating in the growth of our students, watching them come in as somewhat insecure and uncertain freshmen, observing their maturing and learning, sometimes their mistakes, and then seeing them leave as self-confident young adults, friends in many cases, who go on to conquer the world. This is a part of Croft that I believe has become stronger and that I hope will continue to strengthen in the years to come. On the institutional side, we have managed to stay on top as the premier undergraduate program on campus in the social sciences and humanities. About 6 years ago, we added the Middle Eastern regional concentration, which brought wonderful new faculty and many talented new students to campus. We have strengthened our affiliation with the Department of Modern Languages, especially the Chinese and Arabic programs, but also with other academic departments, including mathematics and economics, leading the way for more and better interdisciplinary collaboration at the university. We are adding Korean studies as a permanent dimension of East Asian regional concentration. The Croft Institute has almost doubled in size since 2007, even as admission standards have gone up substantially and the number of freshman applicants increased this year to nearly 300 for some 70 slots. The program has become more rigorous, more competitive, and better known nationally, which is evident in a variety of ways. First, the number of high-achieving students, both in-state and from out-of-state, has gone up significantly in the last 10 years. National test scores are at an all-time high and are the highest on campus. Second, our graduates increasingly go on to the top graduate schools and they land very competitive first jobs. And third, another perhaps somewhat unusual mark of our consolidation is the program's ability to withstand attrition, which brings me to today's graduating class. One of the topics of conversations among the Croft faculty and administrators in the last few months has been the small size of this year's graduating class, the group that we call the 2012 cohort. There are just 28 names in the printed program today. Of those 28, 4 students started in 2011, meaning they took 5 years to complete the program, typically because they were so ambitious that they are graduating with multiple majors, minors, or degrees, such as international studies plus accountancy plus a foreign language. Or they liked it so much here that they just didn't want to leave. Your parents must love you very much. One student joined in 2013 as a freshman, but raced through to complete the program, including a major in Spanish, in just 3 years. That leaves just 23 of the original 60 students who started out as freshmen in August 2012, just 38%. What happened to those other 37 students? 14 left within the first few weeks after taking the mandatory geography quiz on day 1. Or after the first test in Dr. Bosquez's calculus course, or Dr. Fragoso Gonzalez's first venture into Excel, or Dr. Denise's first disquisition on wealth and income inequality. It is not as though these students were unable to do the work, but rather that they quickly figured out that this program was not for them, or required more than they wanted to do in college. Another 12 left for a variety of reasons in the second or third year, which is not unusual, and the final 11 are in various stages of completing their work and will graduate either in August, December, or next May. So we've got some 28 graduating seniors this academic year, and I want to pause for a moment to reflect on what this small group of enormously talented students has accomplished during their time here. Not only have they mastered a range of survival skills, from tested proficiency in a foreign language and the ability to function and study abroad, to statistical and quantitative analysis, and expertise in their areas of regional and thematic concentration, but they have also learned, sometimes the hard way, what it takes to write a senior thesis that is anywhere from 50 to 100 pages in length, and most important of all, to manage their time and survive under great pressure. Most of these students have second or even third majors and minors, and quite a few of them, those with the white stoles around their necks, have also met all the requirements of the Sally McDonald Barksdale Honors College. If you look at your program and take the trouble to count, you will see that we have among these graduates 5 members of who's who among students in American universities and colleges, 1 Fulbright scholar, 2 Hall of Famers, in addition to some 12 members of Phi Kappa Phi, 12 inductees to Phi Beta Kappa, and 4 Taylor medalists. Phi Beta Kappa is the oldest and most prestigious honorary society in the country, and only about 1% of graduating seniors nationally earn that distinction. Croft students are once again the single largest group of Phi Beta Kappa inductees on campus. The Taylor Medal is the highest academic honor for undergraduates at the University of Mississippi, and every year only a tiny number of students receive this award. A very impressive haul indeed for this small band of graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating the graduating class.